This episode is brought to you by the NBA. From the squeak of shoes on the hardwood to the tips of their fingers, it's a mesmerizing dance of jaw-dropping dunks, heartbreaking blocks, and mind-blowing steals. It's the most fantastic athletes in the world who make your heart beat out of your chest and make you want to jump into the screen and be right on the court with them. That's the NBA. That's game. Don't miss the NBA playoffs going on now.
SDP, the Steve Dangle Podcast, with your hosts, Steve Dangle, Adam Wilde, and Jesse Blake.
You know, I was going to start today with an apology, but let's talk about how Steve Dangle of the Steve Dangle Podcast, the Steve Dangle Podcast, TSDP, forgot that he had a show or forgot how long walks are with his dog that's been around for, how old is Iggy? 5 now?
6.
Just
turned 6.
So
the second one.
We normally record at about 2 o'clock. It's 2:22 right now. And so what happened, Steve? You messaged us. You said, "I'm sorry, I got caught on a walk."
So we're getting some work done in the backyard right now because it's one of the very few legal things remaining.
Right.
And we can't let Iggy out. Can't let him outside. If we did, he'd be in a construction site. And if he actually managed to get onto the grass, there would be a nest of bunnies. So just a minefield back there. So I got to take him on walks every time. And I'm like, you know what? I'm an old man. I know I'm about to be sitting for about 2 hours with my buds. Don't want to stiffen up there. Don't want to have any disc issues. Get the QLs tightening up there. Heaven forbid the piriformis syndrome. Oh, who knows about that? High five, fellow olds.
I have no idea what that is.
Yeah. So I went for a walk and looked at my phone and was not near my house and realized it was 2 o'clock and just made a mistake.
All right.
Not smart. I better not be late when I'm on Tim and Friends tomorrow.
Yeah, you've got two segments with them coming tomorrow?
Yeah, so it's floating right now. We don't know. We have a potential guest. I'm not going to say who it is just in case they can't. But right now, unless something very major breaks, I'm supposed to do 2 blocks with Tim. I don't know which blocks. So follow my Twitter and I'll let you know.
That's fun.
Yeah. I think it'll be very fun. I've never been on with Tim. Only Sid.
Yeah, because every time Tim's been away, you've been the fill-in for Tim.
Yeah. Once
that's cool.
On a football heavy day with no football knowledge.
Smart. Good move. That was a good move to be on that one.
And last time, the one and only time I was on Tim and Sid, there was an NHL trade. And it was Chris Weidman. Oh, it's a huge deal, guys. Chris Weidman going from the Sens to the Oilers for what I'm pretty sure was a conditional pick.
Wow.
So that means there's going to be a trade.
Damn. Well, so yesterday you actually tweeted out at the beginning of the day, you're like, oh, my spidey senses are tingling. There's going to be a trade today. And I was like, I looked at Jesse. I'm like, how many times is he going to say or tweet this?
Until I'm wrong.
You have to understand, Steve does say this in the group chat as well, right? It's not just on Twitter. Like, you looked good yesterday with the Palmieri thing, but
were you predicting any trade of any sort or a Leafs trade?
Yeah, see, I thought it was a Leafs trade.
Yeah, I thought it was a Leafs trade.
And too many people were like, big idiot. And they're tweeting me this at like 4. I'm like, yes, there's never been a trade after 4, has there?
Yeah, but saying, there might be a trade in the NHL isn't like, that's not a bold take, Steve.
It's so bold.
I think that's the point we're trying to get across.
It's so bold.
You're not really going out on a limb saying that twice a week for the last 52
2
weeks.
limbs, Jesse. He went out on 2 limbs.
Oh.
I'm not going out on any limbs. I'm going out on my big galaxy brain. Getting all kinds of things right.
Totally.
Just getting all kinds of things right.
No, well, it was a big deal. And Steve, I guess we owe you an apology. And I tweeted at you. I said, I'm sorry. Okay, you're right. You're correct.
Yeah. Well, Adam, I don't know what you have planned for today's show, but how much time do you have allotted for the apology?
Well, this was it. We're going to go into the Who Wore the Crown right after this.
All right, fair enough. Well,
so, sorry. Palmieri, his beard is gone. We'll break down the trade a little bit later. Obviously, got to talk about Jack Campbell. Thank goodness it is. But Jesse, who is sponsoring the show today?
Well, today's Who Wore the Crown is sponsored by Maverick. So Maverick said, I just made a donation to the Sick Kids Foundation. And I wrote up a little thing in for the Crown segment.
Okay.
This episode of the SDP is brought to you by Maverick, a Ryerson 2020 graduate majoring in sport media, also minored in history. If you are looking for a new employee at your company, why not?
Why not?
Reach out to Maverick.
Love that. Well done, Maverick.
Wrote to us.
Well done. That's somebody who's been to media arts. Good for you.
Yeah.
Excellent. All right. Well, let's kick it off. Who wants to go? Anybody?
I mean,
you kick it off, Adam.
All right. Well, then it's going to be my boy Jack Campbell, obviously. 10-0-0, tying an NHL record, cementing himself in Maple Leafs history with the all-time franchise record, 10 wins in a row. And by the way, a little bit of a kind of an asterisk on that, not an asterisk in a bad way, but he also was like really hurt in between there, right? Like he had a few wins to start the season and then got really hurt and then won after. That is a pretty impressive thing. And I think, I stay up late just to watch the Jack Campbell interviews. Obviously, all the press that has come out about him. Toronto Star had an article, The Athletic had an article with James talking about his background. And, then Sheldon Keefe saying yesterday that this guy deserves everything good that's coming to him. And we actually got a tweet today saying, when do you think it'll be, Campbell's time when do you think the Leafs are just going to ride Campbell? I'm like, I think we're here
now.
I think we're well past here. Yeah, this is the new starting goaltender for the Toronto Maple Leafs, and it was great to see Freddie Anderson even shoot out an Insta story and say congratulations, Jack. And you see how excited Mitch Marner is for him. You see how excited Austin Matthews is for him, and you see how supportive he is of his teammates. It's amazing to see good things happen to good people. Jack Campbell, you get my crown today and every day. I feel like Jack Campbell is becoming my James Reimer, and I didn't even realize it until last night, but I love this guy. Irrationally, I love him. I hope he's here forever.
Are we going to talk about the starting goalie after this segment? Because I don't think the Leafs believe that's the case, that they have a number one goalie right now.
We'll get into it.
Okay, good.
Jesse, do you want next?
No, you go ahead, Steve.
Well, fellas, you're not going to believe it, but I'm going to go with Jack Campbell. It's extremely difficult to, apparently play 10 games as the Leafs backup. In previous years, it has been extremely difficult to play at all. But to get in there and do what he's done, I think he's 13-2-1 now as a Leaf. Granted, 10-0-0 of that is this year. But he's also just a story of perseverance. Like, this is the first time we've really spoken about Jack Campbell being the starter realistically in his NHL career. He was drafted 11 years ago. He was drafted in 2010, 11th overall by the Dallas Stars. 11th overall. There were some, let me tell you, there were some misses in that damn draft. It was Taylor Hall.
What are you looking at?
Oh my God. Okay. So first, second, and third, Taylor Hall, Tyler Seguin, Eric Goodbranson. Now,
very good.
Goodbranson is not the first two, but he's played over 500 games. You shut up. Ryan Johansson, he'd be much better were it not for the injuries. Nino Niederreiter, though. There's another late bloomer. Brett Connolly just traded today again on his 19th NHL team. Jeff Skinner was going very, very, very good for a long time and then not. Alexander Burmistrov, a guy who was supposed to be something and not so much. Dylan McElrath, who remembers that?
Do not remember.
Rangers picked him 10th overall, and everyone was like, what? Because he was supposed to go late second round. And then Jack Campbell, followed by Cam Fowler. Now, Jack Campbell, when I was introduced to him, it was the round-robin game, Canada versus the States at the World Juniors in Saskatoon. And I happened to be sitting behind a scout. And I go, who's in net for the States right now? Because he made a couple really good saves. I think he ended up getting pulled in that game, but every goalie got pulled in every Canada-USA game back then. It was ridiculous. It happened in the gold medal game too. I'm pretty sure all 4 goalies got in. But I go, who's this kid? And the scout just turns around and he goes, this kid? Oh, he's got ice in his veins. And now 11 years later, we know it's closer to gummy bears in his veins. He's like just that good of a guy. Sprinkles. Yeah. But to see him finally get his moment to shine after high expectations. I'm sure people calling him a bust. This is why you never draft a goalie in the first round. It's opportunity. And he's getting his with the Leafs right now, and he's making the most of it.
One day, Jesse, before you get going here, one day somebody's going to do an article on the fact that there are very few goaltenders in the NHL currently drafted after, I believe, the year 2014.
In the first round?
Or no, just in general. Like, I don't think there are a lot of goalies. Like, name any starter besides Carter Hart. That's like, are there a lot of starters in the NHL that weren't drafted like 5, 6, 7 years ago? Do you know what I mean? It's like every goalie is 26 or older. It feels like that anyway. And I could be wrong.
I think I know what you're trying to say. I think what I would edit what you're saying, and it's the first rounders. They're almost never.
Really?
And like Malcolm Subban was like the most recent one. It's like, all right, no, you know what? We're going to do it. We're actually going to risk it. And there's another one. I don't remember if Carter Hart was a first rounder. I think Spencer Knight was, who just joined the Florida Panthers. Right. And like these days you see a goalie drafted in the first round because goalies have had such a hard time succeeding and actually getting past those expectations. Nowadays, when a goalie gets drafted in the first round, everyone's like, wait till you get a load of this guy. Like, I remember the hype around John Gibson for his draft. And it was like, yeah, we really like him and we think he's going to be good, but there's something about attaching the one little S, little T to his name.
Yep.
Something about attaching first.
It's funny because after the draft happens, really, your chances are about the same as every other person who got drafted, right? You know, there is a bit of sure, each team's going to push their firsts a little bit harder and try to give them the support that they need. But when you think about it, just get drafted and take care of the rest of it afterwards. You know what I mean?
I do agree with that. Like, that's all the player can do. And Carter Hart, even, by the way, was 48th overall, second round. So, like, it just goes to show. And people are like, wait till you get a load of this kid. He's going to be the biggest thing since blah, blah, blah. And I think he's just having a bad run right now. Yeah. He's still going to be great. I mean, you don't just forget how to be a goalie overnight. Right. But the hype around him was so big, and he almost didn't even go in the top 50. You know what I mean? So sometimes that first can work against you, though. Right. And I think it worked against Jack Campbell a little bit. But now look at him.
Look at him now. Jesse, go ahead.
Gibson, by the way, was 39th overall, round 2. So
yes. I know, with the Leafs draft pick that they gave to Anaheim.
Great pick by them.
Doesn't it?
Sometimes, you know, when you go and you see an artist play or a band, you want to hear the hits. You don't want to hear any of the new music. So I think for today, I have to give a shout out to William Nylander, because Tavares, Galchenyuk, Mikheyev just isn't the same as Nylander on Tavares as well.
Oh, I thought they were fine. You're a bully.
They were.
They were okay. They were okay. But you noticed a difference without him out there. You know, you miss him on the power play. You miss him on Tavares' wing. And I just want to shout out William Nylander, who was out because of contact tracing yesterday. A little shout out. Give him my crown today because we missed him in the lineup. It's not the same when your lower 6 got to move up and help fill the top 6.
That's a good point. I mean, people were talking this morning as though it was some sort of disastrous second line. I didn't see that at all. I thought they were strong. I mean, it's about the caliber of winger Tavares got used to playing with on the island. Like, it's not any different than the guys that he, you know, got major contracts for, Okposo and Molson and those guys. Like, I don't see a huge difference. I think maybe Galch doesn't have the history, but if Galch keeps playing the way he's playing, he's a top 6 guy in the league.
I think so. With Nylander and Tavares, Galch is the workhorse, right? Mm-hmm. Like he's got to be the guy to go and dig and everything. And last night we saw him man possessed. That's one of the best offensive performances from a guy who didn't end up scoring this season. And we saw how quickly he adjusted to the new role, because Mikheyev wasn't okay. You're Nylander now. No, he was the guy who dug. And it led to the goal, the first goal. Like, it's not an insult against him, but boy, there's a player there in Galchenyuk that, man, I was wrong. I had no idea. No idea he had this left.
Yeah, well, it's pretty great. And happy that Leafs have a little bit of found money. That is Who Wore the Crown. Jesse, you want to read that out again one more time?
Yeah, I'll read this from Maverick. He said, this episode of the SDP is brought to you by Maverick, a Ryerson student, 2020 graduate, majoring in sport media. If you're looking for a new employee at your media company, why not?
Why not?
Why not?
Reach out to Maverick Sleep. So his last name's Sleep. That's an awesome name.
That is good. I like that. What do his friends call him? Z's?
Mavs. I think if your name's Maverick, you want to be called Maverick, right?
Maverick.
That's already a nickname.
I don't know who's going to defeat the pillow guy, but I'm pretty sure it's him.
The pillow guy? What's that?
The My Pillow guy.
Oh God.
Who randomly,
he's losing his mind, eh? Like he's losing his mind.
Losing? You can't lose something you never had.
I guess.
Hey, you want to know, just to put a bow on this, Jack Campbell, the first trade out of Dallas, he was traded for Nick Ebert. So Nick Ebert, like straight up, 1-for-1. Nick Ebert was a 7th round pick in 2012, 211th overall, so almost last overall. And Dallas, by the looks of it, only had him in the AHL for 68 games 1 year. That's what Jack Campbell was given up for.
Wow.
Here you go. Like he was nothing to the Dallas Stars.
Well, let me ask you this, because I'm just going through NHL.com stats right now. How many goalies drafted at on or after the year 2015 have played over 20 games this year?
Can't be a lot. Matt Murray, I think, and what were your parameters there?
On or after the draft in 2015, which by the way is 6 years ago.
Matt Murray was drafted in 2012?
Yeah. So here are the names. Are you ready?
When did that happen?
You guys want the names?
Yes.
There are 3. Carter Hart, Mackenzie Blackwood, and Dallas's goalie, Jake Ottinger. Is that how it's
Who made his NHL debut this year, I want to say? He might have played last year.
He's played 20 games, been pretty good. Guys, that's what I was trying to say earlier, is that like there aren't a lot of goalies here. And then if you go the year before, you got Thatcher Demko, you got Shesterkin, and then I can never say his name, Vitek Vanacek. Is that how I say it?
I think.
Vanacek, yeah,
those are
in Washington.
All drafted goalies. There's been 3 over the last 6 years
that are playing 20 games or more this year.
Okay. Wow. Really?
That's what I'm saying. There aren't a lot of starters that are like, there are not a lot of like regular starters in the NHL. And I'm talking about 20 plus games at this point. And then the year before, 2013, you got Tristan Jarry, UC Saros, and Calvin Peterson.
Cal Peterson's done well in LA.
And then
Ilya Samsonov, has he been injured?
How's this for a draft?
896. Never mind.
You have in 2012, Hellebuck, Vasilevsky, Korpisalo, Anderson, Murray, Ullmark, Dreider, and Subban. But if you count Matt Murray, Anderson, Korpisalo, Vasilevsky, and Hellebuck are the only ones that have played over 20 games. Now, maybe that's a random thing, but it just goes to show that and after you get to 2017, if you look this up on NHL.com, there are no starters. Nobody's played a game. Now, I know it's a shortened season, but there is a startling lack of new starting goalie talent in the NHL when you look at things like that.
I think it's just that goalies are really good, so the good ones stick around, and there's only next year there's going to be, 32 times 2, not a smart man, 64 jobs.
But Steve, 3 people in 6 years?
Oh, no, it's alarming to me. I'm surprised. I'm surprised it's that low. I'm just trying to say, it's tough to get a job, man.
I would expect 3 people a year. You know what I mean? Because your average goalie is going to last, in all honesty, the average NHL career is going to be less than 100 games, especially for a goalie, way less. And so if you
I think the development curve for goalies is just a lot longer as well. You let them
way longer.
You let them have time in the minors. It's like a 5-year development. So you gotta give the goalies time. Yeah.
This is why Hextall basically got canned over the handling of Carter Hart.
Right.
Because they wanted him to start, right?
Yeah, and he didn't. As a goalie,
he wouldn't push it.
It's a little funny that they didn't trust the goalie's judgment there.
Well, they did make the playoffs last year and did well.
They did.
So,
but now we're seeing
but
some.
It looks like he was right. That's the thing.
Right now,
Carter Hart, they've sent him to go do more development. Like they kept him around, just had him practicing for that exact reason, development. And then so it just seems like, hey, stick with this timeline of, hey, if you're a goalie, you can't come in and affect the league at the age of 20, 21. You're not like a centerman who can just hop in the league. You know, you're gonna need 5-6 years in the minors.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you look at Jordan Binnington too, right? Like there's a guy that, was drafted in 2011.
And would have gone to the ECHL had he not refused assignment.
Yeah, crazy.
And the guy who tried to send him there was Martin Brodeur.
That's
like,
so funny.
How do you tell Martin Brodeur no?
Yeah. I don't know how you do that.
Hey,
not sure.
One of the best goalies of all time, shove it. And then he was right.
Yeah, anyways, very, very interesting. I don't know. Maybe that's normal. Maybe it's only like a goalie a year. But as Steve said, it's 64 jobs. I guess a lot of these guys can be undrafted or free agent signings, which is why, like, we have talked about this in the past about like the lack of quote unquote depth at the goaltender position with the Leafs. But it seems like it's one of those things where the Leafs are playing the odds with what players they can develop into great players. Meaning the Leafs know how to develop skilled young forwards. They know how to do that. It's a factory. You look at what's happened in the last 5 years. It's just person after person after person. And I would count anybody from like Connor Brown and Andreas Janssen, Kasperi Kapanen, Zach Hyman, William Nylander, like guys that, I mean, obviously
the amount of guys who are no longer here.
Yes,
like
100%.
A factory for their own team and the rest of the league.
And this year, Vancouver.
And Vancouver.
I mean, you could count Josh Lebo in that too. There's lots of guys that are,
Absolutely.
so maybe the Leafs are looking at it like, listen, this is our best chance to find value. We'll get these young, skilled guys, and hopefully we can trade them for some value back. And maybe that's where your goaltender comes from. But, I mean, what did Freddie cost him? Sam Steele, which was the first round.
It was like a first and a second. It was Sam Steele and was it Maxime Comtois?
Was it Comtois?
Yeah, he's a good player.
Who's been playing great this year.
Yeah.
Real good player.
And Steve, I think you said it like, I don't know, 2 years ago or something. You were saying how what are the pieces for? Like you draft and develop these guys, and then now you got to ship them away to get pieces back. So I think like the Leafs got to use these guys and use all this extra forward depth they have to get the other things they need.
Well, and I think of the guys where I was like, no, like I don't want to let go of them.
Mm-hmm.
Like for like some of the guys. Who we were wrong about. Like I was like, no, don't let go of Brendan Leipzig. Whoops. So that one was wrong. Spent a little bit too much time on that. But even like letting go of Trevor Moore, like who is a great player, really like him. Kings fans like him. He's doing a good job there. Look what it got you. Carl Grundstrom. No. You get Jake Muzzin, okay. And I still, Sean Dursey got called up to the Kings, and I don't know if he's played there yet. And I go, that's the Muzzin deal. Oh, it's the Muzzin deal. And now he's going to be a Leaf for, by the time it's all said and done, 6 years.
All right, you have Jake Muzzin. Like you developed this guy, and then you moved out the pieces, and you got Jake Muzzin.
Yeah, you have a guy that might become Jake Muzzin, and then you have actual Jake Muzzin who turned into Jake Muzzin before you got him.
Yeah,
exactly.
Like, what are you doing all this for? Right?
Yeah, yeah. So maybe, and then maybe that's the strategy they've adopted. Obviously, they've got guys in the minors, and they're doing okay. I don't know if anybody has pegged any of the Leafs guys. Is it Wool or who else they have? It's
Ian Scott, Artur Akhtyamov in Russia, Anthony Beauvillier. I'm not sure where he's playing right now. I think he was in the queue. And
is anybody pegging those guys as
Zachary Beauvillier?
Yeah, it's not Anthony. It's Zachary.
Did I just combine like Antoine Bibeau? And
I think so.
I might have. Yeah, Zachary Beauvillier, I think is his name. And I think they have one other guy and I forget his name.
I'm going to look him up. You
know who I'm talking about, though, right? I nailed it.
So there's an Anthony Beauvillier, which is not the one you were talking about, I don't believe.
Oh, Anthony Beauvillier is on the Islanders. I'm a moron.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Who do we got? What are we talking about here? I'm trying to figure it out. Leafs goalie depth.
My bad. No, it's Zachary.
It is Zach. Okay, that's what I thought. All right. So, but the question becomes like, are any of those guys pegged to be starters? And if they're not, does it matter?
Well, goalies are voodoo. Like I know it's a lazy it's a lazy mantra and it's not always true, but like, you know, for example, just brought up Malcolm Subban and we're like, first rounders, like he could become a starter tomorrow. Like that's just how goalies work. And he's played a few games where I'm like, how isn't this guy a starter? Remember last year, that overtime game against Vegas?
Yeah.
Where we actually saw surrounded by people? Imagine that. That was weird.
And like a guy like Subban, every minor league team he's been on, he's been unbelievable. Like he even when he was coming up with when he was in the Boston organization, when he was playing for the Providence Bruins, he had like a 920 save percentage, but then they brought him to the NHL for like a game or two and it didn't work out, and then he goes to Vegas and it's not working out, but then they send him back down to the AHL and he's good all of a sudden. So
TJ Brennan,
right? you never know about goalies.
Mm-hmm.
No, and I feel like goalies are the sort of thing you can look at. I feel like you can look at a player's stats, like a forward stats, and extrapolate some things from that in junior. For a goalie, because junior is so cyclical in who the good teams are and who the bad teams are, age plays such a huge factor. You know, if you're a 20-year-old, you might have absolutely no NHL future, but you're the king of that league.
Yeah.
And if you're a 16-year-old, you could have the best future out of anybody, but you're a bum. You know, unless your name is Bedard, apparently. Connor Bedard, what a monster in the WHL.
He got exception, right? The special exception?
Yeah.
High skill or whatever it's called.
And he's bullying kids 5 years older than him.
Yeah.
Like I've never seen anything like it. It's absolutely ridiculous. But goalies, I feel like you have to watch. Because like Garrett Sparks, I want to say got drafted on a shitty team. And he did okay. And I remember looking at like going, why did they pick this player above anybody else? And I looked at the Guelph Storm, who he was on, and I'm like, oh, he's basically got the keys to the car though. So they obviously saw something they liked in him. And then next year he's going to play a shitload of games for Guelph. And then he did, and he was really good. So it's a lot of circumstance. I think that's true for all players. But like goalies especially, if there's nowhere for you to play, where are you supposed to play?
Right. And I have
the Carter Verhaeghe
no
conversation
idea
again.
If anybody's ever done like a deep stat dive into how much the defense affects the goalie. Like what caliber of defense does it start affecting your goaltending in terms of like, if it's so good, is how many percentages is save percentage raised, or even the system that the team is playing? Like in terms of what system is the team playing, are you dropping a goaltender save percentage? Are you raising it because you want to allow more shots, because you want to limit shot attempts? Like all that stuff plays such a factor in goaltending. So it's not even just like circumstance of your players, it's circumstance of the team and overall. And that's why goaltending just seems to be voodoo and you never know.
Well,
it's like if you're an Islanders goalie, like you have some sort of advantage just because of how they play.
I'm sure that exists, and I'm sure if Extra Skater, which to really throw it back, I'm sure if it still existed too, we'd be able to track that publicly, wouldn't we? Like Sport Logic would have that, and you have to think that they would know something about that, right?
Yeah.
But and you see like a guy like Braden Holtby. I don't know how much of Braden Holtby's decline had to do with Braden Holtby and how much of it had to do with the fact that maybe the Caps defense wasn't as good anymore without Barry Trotz. You know, as soon as Barry Trotz leaves, Braden Holtby's not an elite goalie anymore all of a sudden. What happened?
Well, and you know, the Leafs with their guys go to the Islanders and et cetera, et cetera. There's a guy whose story I need to get back in touch with this guy. I was too young when I spoke to him, and I wasn't as good at storytelling, but this guy was drafted in the 3rd round by the Kings in 1992. His name is Sandy Allen. And I want to say he grew up kind of in the neighborhood that we did, Adam, but he's much older. He grew up in our neighborhood, but it says he's from Nassau in the Bahamas.
Okay. All right.
I did not know that. But anyway, so he was part of the Kings organization, but they were really good because you'll remember they were, going to the Stanley Cup final and they had Gretzky and everything. And he was telling me like, oh yeah, I went to training camp with Gretzky, and they just don't have an opportunity for him. So he gets traded. I want to say it was either the Montreal or the Hartford organization. And, he's going to challenge for the backup job, but they got this kid who he's never really heard much of, but he looks pretty good, and that kid ends up being J.S. Jaguar. And what are you going to do? And he ends up playing most of his career in the ECHL, and it ends because they were on a road trip, and him and his teammates were playing football at the hotel they were at, and they weren't on the first floor. They weren't on the ground level of the hotel, and he catches a football that was thrown his way, and he actually fell off the hotel balcony.
Oh my God.
Yeah. It's a wild story. I gotta get a hold of him again. But that part was an aside. I think the reason I started telling that story was, it's difficult to get an opportunity there, kids.
Steve, why did you bring up that story?
I don't know, because I don't have a good brain. Like I literally don't have a good brain.
I want to know where Sandy Allen went to high school. That's what I mean,
probably Moet. Like, I don't know. I don't know. I don't have a good brain, guys. That's why I brought it up. I'm sorry.
Hey.
It was wild.
We can delete it if you want.
No, I think we're going to leave it in there.
Okay. You ever play for the PD Pride, guys? You played for the PD Pride.
I'm sweating right now.
Adam, what are your takeaways from Sandy Allen's career?
I mean, it sounds like that was a pretty tough story. And my favorite part about this that remains unanswered is Steve feels like he was unqualified, or at least not experienced enough to tell the story properly.
Oh
so
my God.
I would like to know how the story was in fact told. Like, was it told?
Well,
like,
it was fucking years ago, so I don't remember. I thought I was good at it. No, I guess not.
Who did you tell it for? Who did you do it for again?
I'm pulling the chute. I'm bailing. Oh, he played with Manny Legacy. Oh,
Steve,
cool.
we all have that. We've all had that. Okay,
I'm just on his ECHL. I'm just on his hockey DB right now. He played with Manny Legacy. That's cool. Oh, Dwayne Rollison.
Good.
Cool.
Can we title the episode Sandy Allen?
We for sure can.
All right, let's move on to the goaltender discussion at large. Again, basing it off the tweet that I got, and somebody, and I'm sorry I don't have your name on file, but basically they said, hey, when do you think the Leafs are going to ride Jack Campbell all the way through the next season? And my response to him was, I think you're looking at it. It's already started. And Jesse, you don't seem to think that that's necessarily the case.
I'm a believer in sport that you don't lose your role to injury. So I think when Frederik Andersen comes back and he's fully healthy, he's going to get a shot. It might be one game, it might be 2 games, it might be a handful of just back and forth, but he's going to get a shot. And I think Sheldon Keefe believes that because he hasn't said anything to the contrary. He said he's going to be back before the end of the season, sometime after the trade deadline. But Frederik Andersen is going to be back in the regular season, and he's going to get a shot because it's still his job until he loses it on the ice, is what I believe. So if he goes out and maybe first game back, terrible, 4 bad goals, something, then it could be gone. Then I say, Jack Campbell, hey, this is your net. But until that happens on the ice, I don't think off the ice, just because Campbell's playing the best hockey a goaltender can play ever, doesn't mean that Frederik Andersen's still not the number 1 goalie until he loses it.
But what's his job, though? You know what I mean? Like starting goalie. Okay, so just guy who stops pucks for the Leafs. Like, there's 16 games remaining, and he's not playing yet.
Yeah.
So, like, if he comes back, let's say first game before the playoffs, he comes back first game of the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's actually not your job.
And
you do lose your job to injury.
He's probably gonna start one of those games. Like he's not coming back and not getting a shot.
Right.
He probably shouldn't, depending on the circumstance.
When it depends on when he comes back, I would say. Now,
I wish we had any idea when that would be.
They said before the end, so it's not going to be first game of the playoffs. Sheldon Keefe already said it's going to be before the end of the regular season.
Right. And if Jack Campbell,
that's a 16 game span. Like, is that tomorrow, Sheldon?
No, he said after the trade deadline and before the end of the regular. So somewhere in that,
it'll be in the last 5 games.
Yeah.
Is he the premier? What is this vague bullshit?
Well, he can't.
He can't. You're asking a lot.
Here's
where do I get vaccinated, Sheldon?
Freddie's going to go and get surgery this summer. I put money on it. We know that, right? Freddie's going to go get surgery this summer. Whatever it is. I don't know if it's a hip, if it's a knee, if it's a groin. I don't know, but he needs surgery. Very clearly, allegedly, maybe. I'm just guessing. but I'm just, been around long enough to know. Seems
Good
like
guess.
surgery's needed. Yeah.
Good guess.
Fair,
Almost
right?
every active NHL player could get surgery if they wanted.
Right. And in actual fact, you don't want to get surgery. You want to rehab the injury because surgery is sort of a short-term fix. It's not really that good for you. What you'd like to do is what Connor McDavid did, which is rehab the knee right back to where it was. And
Like a mutant.
And then
Like
film a
mutant idiot.
Sportsnet special that's really good, and like everybody gives you a bunch of attention, thinks you're awesome.
Yeah, and
insane.
all the comments are McDavid net piece of shit.
What?
fire dangle.
Should I get off? Should I jump off this show? I feel like I should.
No, man, no.
God,
So
God, I'm the Michael Hutchinson of this trio right
you
now,
are
and I'm not.
Oh my God. All right. So, but here's what I would say with Jack Campbell. It's an interesting thing. Greg Wyshynski brought up a point in his ESPN article that I loved, and it's at what point do we start considering Jack Campbell for Vezina? The guy is 10-0-0
Damn. Okay.
with a 157 goals against average and a 944 save. If he plays 10 of the next 16 games, let's say, and that's fair, right? Like he might play more than that, but if he just plays 10, that's 40 games, or not 40 games, that's 35 games of an NHL season, something like that. Can a goalie that's played that little, quote unquote, little, be eligible for something like that?
What is the exact extrapolation to 82 games?
I don't know.
That's the answer for me. If it's like 30 games, then it's not.
Well,
enough.
okay, so Robin Leonard and I want to say Ben Bishop a couple years ago had ridiculous numbers, but they only played like half the season. And I want to say they played it was something like 43 games each. So right around half, barely over half. Campbell, if he played every game for the rest of the season, could not even get to that. He couldn't get to 50% of the Leafs games. He'd have to go 26-0.
Then yeah.
Then yeah. Well, I said today, I'm like, okay, let's say he goes 20-6. He's not going to get the opportunity to do that, but let's say. I think he'll certainly get many votes. May even get nominated, but I doubt it. I doubt it very much. It's too rare of a circumstance. And you talk about, guys not wanting to vote for the Leafs because they don't want to be looked at as homers. I mean, how you can definitely get that perception is if you give the Vezina to a guy who's played less than half of the games.
Fair. Yeah, that's fair. I mean, it's just, I just thought it was an interesting thought, right? It's kind of a fun thing.
Well, Adam, I mean, we talk about Jack Campbell being drafted forever ago, 2010. You know whose career began long before 2010? Greg Wyshynski. Generate those damn clicks, Wish. Generate those clicks. That is brilliant. That is brilliant. I wish I had a camera on him the moment that clicked. Oh my God. Jack Campbell for click, 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 click. Here you go, bosses at ESPN. No. It's hockey. I know you're new here. Trust me, they're going to love it. Okay, thanks. Bye.
Steve.
Yes.
You just said, what if Campbell goes 20-6, which is possible if you played every last game of the season.
Sure.
Right now, if I'm a Tampa Bay Lightning fan, I'm listening to this podcast, I'd be pissed off because Andre Vasilevsky right now is 23-6.
Hilarious.
He also leads the league in save percentage if you cut off games played. So Campbell wouldn't be included in that. He has a 931. He's got 3 shutouts.
Oh my God.
He's got a 2 GAA. Vasilevsky's getting
he's going to get it.
Vezina trophy.
So this is the Hart conversation then. We know the winner, who's second and third.
Right. Yeah.
Campbell could come in third, maybe.
Yeah, even if he gets top 5, that's cool. Give him a vote. Just throw him a 5th place vote. Who cares?
But going 20-6, Vasilevsky's like, hey, I'm 23-6.
So if Campbell if Campbell goes above expectations and plays every game for the rest of the season, he still could not achieve the record that Andre Vasilevsky already has.
Yes.
Right. But it's Andre Vasilevsky.
God.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
He's had a great season.
Holy shit. That's the best goalie in the league. Easily. There's the conversation who's winning the Vezina and who's the best goalie in the league. Andre Vasilevsky is both. And it's very rare. Who's going to be the Hart winner? Who's the best player in the league? It's often a different conversation. It's been Connor McDavid for a few years now, but who's winning the Hart? Andre Vasilevsky is the best goaltender in the NHL by far.
Also,
first round pick. So there's a first round pick that panned out.
Very rare.
Yeah.
Very rare. Yeah. And he's a guy he's been the chosen one for a long time. Like, we're talking immediately after he was drafted, starter in the KHL, which is extremely difficult to do, or was like a tandem goalie in the KHL. Let me look up Askarov.
Can we just go back to the Campbell?
No. I'm hijacking the show. Okay, Askarov's played 9 KHL games. He's a 951. That's very, very stupid. 11th overall. Can't wait for him to become a starter in 11 years. Sorry, Adam, what?
Steve Dangle è un tipo maleonte. What does that mean? Well, in case you don't speak Spanish, that means Steve Dangle is a smelly guy, and I just learned it from Babbel, the #1 selling language learning app in the world. It's one of my goals for the new year was to learn a little bit of, new language. And Babbel has made the whole process addictively fun and easy, and I can throw little barbs at my friends in different languages. Little bite-sized lessons, perfect for guys like me who really have low attention spans. They're 15 minutes long, and they make it perfect to learn a new language. You're not spending your time conjugating verbs. We're talking about real-world conversations. Now, you've seen other language learning apps, and they use AI for their lesson plans. Babbel lessons were created by using over 100 language experts. Their teaching method has been scientifically proven to be effective. And with Babbel, you could choose from 14 different languages, including the one I'm trying to learn, Spanish. Plus, Babbel's speech recognition technology helps you improve your pronunciation and accent. That's the part I'm still working on, so just bear with me. Right now, when you purchase a 3-month Babbel subscription, you'll get an additional 3 months for free. So that's 6 months for the price of 3. Just go to Babbel.com and use the promo code THEORY. That's BABBEL.com code THEORY for an extra 3 months free. Babbel, language for life. Have you heard about Blinkist? It is the most useful app on your phone that you haven't downloaded yet. I'm serious. This is an app that's so cool because it takes information from a book and condenses it to 15 minutes, which you can watch or listen to. And if you're like me, you live a busy, crazy life. And that's why Blinkist is so important. It takes away the key takeaways from any book that you need to read. One of my favorites, you're going to laugh at this. It's called Everything is Fucked. And it's a book about hope. And I read it once and I didn't quite fully get the whole takeaway thing from it. Sometimes you read a book and you're like, I don't know. Anyway, I thought, okay, I'll go on my Blinkist app. I'll check it out. I read it and it gave me all the key things that I should have taken away from it. And that's what's so great about Blinkist. And you know that anybody successful will tell you, read as many books as you possibly can. And Blinkist allows you to do that. So what you want to do, we can get you unlimited access to read or listen to a massive library of condensed nonfiction books, all the books you want for a low price. Right now, for a limited time, go to Blinkist.com/SDP and try it free for 7 days and save 25% off your new subscription. That's Blinkist, spelled Blinkist, Blinkist.com/SDP to start your 7-day trial. And you'll also save 25% off, but only when you sign up at Blinkist.com/SDP. So can we get back to the Campbell thing for just a second? Here's what I think is going to go down. And here's the danger that Sheldon Keefe faces, because if Freddie Anderson comes back, and you have to give Freddie Anderson a couple of games, his first game back cannot be playoff game 1. Otherwise, and if you're a Buffalo Bills fan, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. You'll risk a Rob Johnson, Doug Flutie situation where Doug Flutie takes you to the playoffs, but the ownership says, well, wait a second, we just spent $25 million signing Rob Johnson, and we're going to start him, and you lose because Doug Flutie was the quarterback of that team, and it should have been that way. I also feel like, with the Jays, and we mentioned this a couple of days ago with Mark Burley, starting him when they probably shouldn't have. I think in this particular instance, Sheldon Keefe risks one thing, and that is the magic beans that are Freddie Anderson. If Freddie Anderson is able to come and sit behind the bench and he's healthy-ish, just enough to sit there, you still have Freddie Anderson hanging over the other team. Like, if we chase Jack Campbell, Freddie Anderson's going to be there. But if Freddie Anderson comes in for 1 or 2 games and he sucks, then the other team knows Freddie Anderson sucks. So all we have to do is get in on Jack Campbell. And you put that in front of a team like, I don't know, the Boston Bruins. Start little run here, a little run there. Then all of a sudden you've got the Leafs' weak point because it's not their defense this year.
Montreal, I was just watching them in the final few minutes there. And I'm like, boy, this team likes to crash the net.
They sure do.
And that's how they got both goals. I mean, Corey Perry was a defensive break, did the first one. But add Gallagher to the mix because remember, they didn't have Gallagher last night. Mm-hmm. And whoever they add, because those liars are going to add, shut up, Montreal.
Corey Perry was on a mission last night.
Sure was.
You look great for 82 years old.
I'm pretty sure Corey Perry, it was going to be Corey Perry or Wayne Simmons. And I think the Leafs went with Wayne Simmons. I'm pretty sure that's what happened. And actually, in fact, I've heard that's what happened. Mm-hmm. And so I think Corey Perry was out to prove like, hey, you made a mistake, which good for him.
Yeah.
Could be that. I don't remember how many games he's played against the Leafs this season, if any. I feel like he wasn't in the first maybe couple. I don't know. It's a fun debate. But I tell you what, Perry looked a lot like the Perry that we saw in the bubble against Dallas, or not against Dallas, with Dallas. Just old former MVP who can just turn it on for spurts.
Whenever he wants.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like I'm not relying on Corey Perry for the first 57 minutes of the game. Like I know he scored one in the first 57 minutes, but you can't lean on the guy. You can't. His body can't do it. Mm-hmm. But there's 3 minutes to go. We're gonna lose if you don't score. Yeah, he can pop the Popeye spinach and get in there and maybe get you one. Like what was it? His knee? He wasn't exactly known for his knees. No. I know you need him, but that dude was known for his elbows.
Just to your point, Adam, I think that's the best case scenario for the Leafs is just, hey, Campbell and Anderson are really rolling, and we have both of them, and it's like a Matt Murray, Marc-Andre Fleury situation where you just got two goalies for a cup run, and you're like, what? Just too many riches. This is awesome.
That would be
Jeff
great.
Bezos of the Eagle. You know?
Can you guys help me out here? Because here's what I'm trying to figure out. Because there are still Freddie Anderson trade rumors, which I think is probably part of the reason why the Leafs are so coy about this. Under what scenario would it make sense to trade Freddie Anderson? I'm not seeing one.
This year?
Yeah.
No. You got a goalie.
Well, he's not going to be back next year.
Yeah, no, you're not trading him.
If you get a goalie back in the trade, yeah. But
right, but why is the team acquiring him? Right. Because if the Leafs get a goalie, it's because they don't think Freddie Anderson's healthy. Mm-hmm. If Freddie is healthy and they trade for a goalie, they're just saying he sucks, which I don't think they believe.
I don't think they do either. I don't think I would believe that.
I don't think he does. I don't think it's the truth.
No, I don't think that. I think if you have to move Freddie Anderson, you're moving his salary, and you don't think he's going to play. Mm-hmm. You're moving it. It's to make money work, and you don't think Freddie's going to play.
And the team who's trading for him is trading for the other piece that comes with Freddie. Yeah, and Freddie is just the cap that's coming with it.
Hey, guys, what about this?
No, don't read it.
Hearing that the Toronto Maple Leafs are working on a deal with the Buffalo Sabres. No. Headed to the Leafs from Buffalo would be Taylor Hall and Linus Ullmark. Toronto would include Freddie Anderson, Rasmus Sandin, Nick Robertson, and a prospect. This is subject to change.
I'd burn every Leaf out of my own.
By the way, aren't Sandin and Robertson prospects? Like I don't. What other prospects? That's all the prospects.
Wait. Sorry, read it again.
Okay, all right.
I missed this. This is
a little unfair.
There's no way you said what I think you just said.
It's from a made-up Twitter account.
Yes,
like it's
I know burner.
That. Hearing that the Toronto Maple Leafs are working on a deal with the Buffalo Sabres, headed to the Leafs from Buffalo would be Taylor Hall and Linus Ullmark. Toronto. Names involved include Freddie Anderson, Rasmus Sandin, Nick Robertson, and a prospect. This is subject to changes.
And guys, try harder. Fuck.
Right.
Well,
that's horrible.
This account has 2,000 followers, man.
Because people want to believe.
ThePuckAuthority.com. There you go. There's their shout out.
Oh,
I mean, they have a podcast and everything. Listen, they might have heard it.
No, totally.
There's no way that makes actual sense.
No. I wouldn't give up one of Robertson or Sandin for either of those players.
I wouldn't either.
Yeah.
Get out of my face.
Yeah.
No, but like we're dismissing it, and then we're not accounting for the fact that they are the authority. So they must know if they're the authority.
It could have been Puck Authority, but they're the Puck Authority. Like we're the Steve Dangle podcast, you know.
I'm the
TPA, the TPA, TPA.
I don't like her new name. I don't like it very much.
Anyway, listen, I don't want to rip these guys, but it's sort of like, come on, guys. Are you kidding
I
me?
do. It's terrible.
A little bit.
No, I'm kidding.
But a lot of people wanted us to bring back Smart Insider Man to talk about
chief
that.
among them. We haven't activated Smart Insider Man since I think 2018, and I think it might be time. Do you guys?
I don't remember the password. I don't remember. I mean, what? Remember what?
I haven't Smart Insider.
I haven't spoken to him in many a moon.
That account still has about 5,000 followers. Which is pretty
No way.
We have double the Puck Authority. Sorry, on Smart Insider.
Who's we?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Smart Insider Man. You know, it's been years since we've heard the truth.
I'm gonna look up the password for him.
A lot of people don't know Smart Insider Man. We're gonna have to include that in the link because that is one of the best, funniest things Steve's ever come up with. I love Smart Insider.
That you died laughing at, and Jesse did not react to.
It was okay.
Yeah, it was okay.
I would give it a
video
sim
back.
2.
Adam is having an asthma attack, and Jesse is just like
I think
doing his taxes.
That was the height of the hockey man era. You know what I mean? Like the height of the still like kind of high on our own farts era of insider stuff. And it was it was so fitting because everybody's like, well, it's a good hockey man. What the hell does that mean? And I think that's